They say every man has a limit, a moment when his patience snaps like dry twine. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday. I remember because it was meatloaf night, and my wife only made meatloaf when she was hiding something. You see, I wasn't born with a sixth sense or supernatural intuition, just a strong sense of routine and a knack for spotting inconsistencies. And that night, the meatloaf was perfect. Too perfect. The mashed potatoes were smooth, not lumpy like usual. The wine was already uncorked. And she was wearing mascara on a Tuesday. That's when I knew. Something was off. Big day at work? I asked casually, stabbing a green bean. Oh, she replied without looking up. Meetings. Exhausting. Her fork trembled. Just slightly. Like a twitch in a liar's eye. Didn't you say Tuesdays were admin days? I probed. A pause. Barely half a second. Then a sip of wine. They changed the schedule, she said, too fast. New priorities. And just like that, I began taking mental notes. The meatloaf was too seasoned, the mascara too thick, and the lies too thin. I didn't explode. I didn't shout. I just filed it away. Because I was raised to believe that if your house is on fire, you don't scream, you check where the exits are first. I watched her for a week. A quiet investigation. She started working late, smiling at her phone, wearing perfume that I hadn't smelled since our honeymoon. One night, she came home humming. Humming. That's when I called Vincent. Vincent isn't a private eye by trade. He's a mechanic. A good one. But he knows people. And for a small stack of 20s, he became my eyes when I couldn't be there. 2 days later, he sent me a photo. My wife. In the passenger seat of a silver Mercedes. Smiling at a man I'd never seen before. His hand was on her thigh. Her wedding ring? Nowhere in sight. I stared at that photo for hours. Not because I couldn't believe it, but because I could. And I wasn't sure which hurt more. That night, I didn't confront her. I made her tea, kissed her forehead, and told her I loved her. Because when a storm is coming, you don't panic. You board the windows. You wait. You plan. And when the time is right, you don't just survive the storm. You become it. By Thursday, her lies had become clockwork. Late meetings. Dead phone batteries. Traffic jams on roads she didn't even take. I smiled through it all. Not because I enjoyed it, but because I needed her to think I was still asleep while she was digging the hole. On Friday morning, I forgot my wallet and returned home 20 minutes after leaving for work. The house was quiet. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, and curiosity, that old devil, whispered, "Go on, take a peek." Now, I'm not a snooper by nature. But when your wife starts laughing at jokes from a man whose cologne lingers in her hair, you stop believing in boundaries. The lock screen was a photo of us. An old one. Before the mascara. Before the Mercedes. I tapped in her code, our wedding anniversary. Predictable. Always was. The messages were there. Plain as day. Unknown number. You looked incredible last night. Can't stop thinking about you. Her. You're bad. Meet again tomorrow? Same place? There were photos, too. Not the kind you print and put on the fridge. And then I found it. A saved contact named L. Not Larry from accounting. Not Lisa from book club. No, L was Logan, the same man who once shook my hand at a charity gala, looked me square in the eye, and called me brother. Brother. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was the last laugh I'd ever let her have at my expense. I took screenshots. Sent them to a secure folder. Then I set her phone back down, precisely angled the way I found it. She never knew I'd been there. That night, she came home late. Her lips were glossed, her scent stronger than usual. Tough day? I asked. She sighed dramatically. You wouldn't believe the stress. No, sweetheart, I would. Just not for the reasons you think. I offered to rub her shoulders. She declined. I offered to cook. She said she wasn't hungry, but I was. Oh, I was starving for the truth, for answers, and for the moment she'd finally realized the house she burned down had a man inside with a fire extinguisher and a plan. And the man? He wasn't going anywhere. Saturday morning, I went to the garage not to fix anything, but to think. That's where I do my best thinking. Surrounded by the smell of oil and old wood. It's hard to lie to yourself in a place where everything is either broken or not. That's when I decided. If she was going to lie to me in my own house, then I would use that same house to catch the lie in motion. I installed a small camera in the living room, tucked discreetly inside the vent cover. Another one in the hallway mirror. She always fixed her hair before going out, and I wanted to see who she was fixing it for. By Sunday, she told me she was going to visit her sister in the next town over. I nodded. Take your time, I said. She packed a small bag, wore jeans that weren't for errands, and left the house humming again. That same tune. Some bubblegum pop song about escaping your boring life. 2 hours later, I opened a camera feed. And there he was. Logan. In my house. On my couch. He poured himself a drink from my cabinet like it was his birthright. Wore a shirt I'd once seen folded in a charity auction gift bag. Probably a limited edition. Limited taste, too. She walked in 30 seconds later. Kissed him before the door even shut. They laughed. They clinked glasses. She didn't even hesitate. Watching it felt like sitting front row at a funeral. Mine. And I was the only one not wearing black. But the part that burned the most? She wore the necklace I gave her on our 10th anniversary. The one she said she'd never take off. She took it off that night. When I watched her place it in his hand, whisper something, and giggle like the girl I married had died and left a stranger in her skin. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't punch a wall. I wrote down the time, the date, and the exact number of lies it took to get here. And then I made a call. Vincent answered. You got what you needed? More than enough, I said. It's time. You sure? That kind of sure you can't walk back from. I looked at the screen. Logan was dancing. Pearly. Vincent, I said. Let's show them what a gentleman's revenge looks like. By Monday, I had everything I needed. Evidence? Check. Motive? You could fill a truck. Opportunity? In abundance. But I wasn't after chaos. No. That's too easy. I wasn't looking to rage through our lives like a tornado tearing down walls and dignity. I wanted something quieter. Something with posture. With presence. Like revenge in a tailored suit. So I went to the attic. Not for nostalgia, but for records. Tax returns. Joint accounts. Safety deposit box keys. The pink slip for her car, technically in my name. Our marriage certificate. Signed, dated, notarized. All the relics of a life once shared and now strategically being dismantled like an old stage set. In the middle of sorting through paper trails in quiet fury, my phone rang. Vincent again. You remember that favor you owe me? He said. I paused. The fishing trip or the busted transmission? Neither. I mean the big one. Yeah, I said slowly. The one where you bailed me out when I forgot our anniversary and you pretended to be my emergency work contact. Bingo, he said. I need to call it in. Can you be at the Ledger Room by 7? The Ledger Room. Downtown's finest. A place where the steak costs more than most traffic tickets and the maitre d' makes you feel like royalty for having a reservation. Why? I asked. You'll see. Just wear something sharp. That's the thing about Vincent. You don't ask too many questions. You just trust that when a man has been fixing your engine for 12 years and never once overcharged you for labor, he knows what he's doing. I arrived at 6:58. Pressed slacks. Navy blazer. The same tie I wore to my father's funeral, calm, dark, and unassuming. Vincent was already there. And so was a man I didn't recognize. Tall, crisp suit, the kind with hidden pockets and subtle cufflinks. The look of someone who could find a loophole in a contract written in blood. This, Vincent said, is Raymond. He's a consultant. Raymond offered a hand like it was a legal document. I help men like you protect themselves, he said plainly. Emotionally. Legally. Financially. I raised a brow. You get that off a business card? No. But I do have a card, he said, slipping one across the table. It read simply, R. Jennings, Domestic Strategy and Exit Logistics. I chuckled. What is that? Divorce for tacticians? Raymond smiled. Something like that. Vincent says you've got a situation. I looked at Vincent. He nodded. Tell him, he said. Every last detail. So I did. From the meatloaf to the mascara. From the silver Mercedes to the camera in the vent. I told them everything. Not as a broken man grasping at straws, but as a strategist laying out the battlefield. When I was done, Raymond steepled his fingers. Tell me, do you still want her back? I blinked. What? It's important, he said. Some men come to me looking for a path to reconciliation. Others want revenge. The rest want freedom. Which one are you? I didn't hesitate. Freedom. Raymond leaned back. Then we'll do this smart. Clean. No drama. No shouting matches. You'll leave her with everything she thinks she wants, and nothing she didn't see coming. I liked Raymond. And just like that, we started crafting the most meticulous, gentlemanly exit plan this side of a corporate merger. First step, protect the assets. We moved my savings into a trust with a third-party custodian, legal, clean, no loopholes. The house? It would go on the market next month. I'd already quietly begun packing the guest room, pretending it was spring cleaning. The car in her name? A gift, I'd say in court. One less argument. Second step, the emotional payload. I wrote her a letter. Handwritten, 3 pages, no venom. Just truth. The kind that doesn't shout, but whispers at midnight when you're alone and can't sleep. I wrote, I saw you dancing in our living room with him. The same room where we argued about wallpaper colors and laughed at bad TV. You wore the necklace I gave you like it meant nothing. Maybe it doesn't anymore. But it did, once. That's the part I'll remember. The woman who wore it with pride, not the one who took it off for a man who pours my bourbon like he owns it. I don't hate you. I don't even pity you. I just understand you now. And that's enough. Third step, the quiet reveal. Raymond advised against a dramatic confrontation. You're not in a soap opera, he said. You're in a chess game. Win quietly. So we agreed. The papers would be delivered while she was at work. Divorce papers, notarized, citing irreconcilable differences. The letter would be on the kitchen table beside a bouquet of fresh lilies, her favorite, even if she never remembered they were mine first. The final step? Disappear. Not in a blaze. Not in a headline. But with poise. With purpose. Leave her wondering, not devastated. Let the silence do the talking. I left the restaurant that night with a plan. And when I got home, she was already in bed. Asleep, or pretending. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching. And I felt it then, the strangest sensation. Relief. Not because it was over, but because now it could finally begin. The day began with a lie, as most of them did lately. She said she was meeting a friend for brunch. Alicia, she mumbled, not realizing she'd already used that cover story last week. Same outfit. Same perfume. Different destination. I kissed her on the cheek as she left. She flinched barely, but enough. I stood at the window, watching her drive off in that silver Mercedes. His car. My driveway. A little act of treason on 4 wheels. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. The camera Vincent placed in the dashboard last week was doing all the following I needed. Instead, I walked into the kitchen and made coffee. 1 sugar, no cream. The way I always drank it before she came along and changed everything to almond milk and agave. Today, it was mine again. On the table sat the divorce papers, neatly stacked. The bouquet of lilies. And the letter. I had signed it, yours once, not again. Simple. Final. Raymond had made the arrangements. At precisely 11:15 a.m., the courier would ring the bell. If she was home, she'd answer and accept the package. If she wasn't, it would be left on the step, visible enough to make her heart stop when she turned the corner and saw the neat manila folder like a gravestone on her porch. At 10:57, I left the house. Not slamming the door. Just pulling it closed with a whisper. I didn't take my car. I walked. Block after block, I passed by all the pieces of our life. The coffee shop where she once surprised me with tickets to a play I never admitted I hated. The park bench where we sat the day I proposed, her fingers cold, her eyes wide with surprise and calculation. I remembered it all, but I didn't linger. I reached the corner store, bought a bottle of water, and nodded to the old man behind the counter who always seemed to know when someone was going through something. Big day? He asked. Ending one, I replied. He didn't ask more. Just rang me up with a knowing look and handed me my change. By the time I looped back toward the house, I could see the courier's van parked out front. Perfect timing. From across the street, I watched as the man in the navy polo walked up to the door, placed the package gently on the welcome mat, and took a photo for proof. He walked back to the van, drove off, and then I waited. It was 11:32 when her car returned. She stepped out wearing sunglasses and that deliberately careless smile she always put on after a night or morning of betrayal. She wasn't alone. He was with her. Logan. Tall. Polished. That smug air of a man who thinks he's already won before the game's even started. They laughed. She reached for his hand. Then she saw the folder. She froze mid-step. Her hand dropped. He noticed, followed her gaze. They both stared. Long enough that I started counting seconds. 1, 2, 3. She rushed forward. Scooped it up. Opened it. She read. He read over her shoulder. And just like that, the show began. She turned to him. Spoke rapidly. Her voice was high and panicked, unlike the confident laugh I'd heard earlier. He backed away slightly, holding up his hands. She argued. He said something that made her face go white. And then, right there in my driveway, she slapped him. Not hard, but loud enough that even from across the street, I heard the sharp crack echo off the pavement like the final note in a bad symphony. Logan stormed off, muttering, climbing into his car without another word. She didn't chase him. She just stood there, clutching the letter to her chest like a confession she never intended to make. I watched her crumble from the shadows of the elm tree, unseen, unheard. And then I turned. Walked away. That was the last time I saw her. In that moment, it wasn't vengeance that filled my chest. It was peace. The kind that comes after a storm, when the air is still and the birds are quiet. The kind you only earn when you've walked through hell with your head up and your hands clean. I didn't burn her world down. I just took away the oxygen. Let it collapse under its own weight. That night, I stayed at Vincent's place. He offered whiskey. I accepted. We sat on his back porch, saying nothing for a long time. Then he raised his glass. To new beginnings, he said. I clinked my glass against his. To quiet endings. He smiled. You ever gonna tell me what that letter said? I shook my head. Nah, I said. It wasn't for her to read. He frowned. Wasn't it? No, I said. It was for her to feel. The house felt different the next day. Not because the walls had changed or the furniture had moved, but because it was quiet in the way hospitals are quiet. Too sterile. Too intentional. The kind of quiet that follows a truth too loud to ignore. She didn't come home that night. Or if she did, it was only to pack. By Tuesday morning, the walk-in closet was half empty. Her side of the sink was wiped clean. No perfume bottles, no stray earrings, no passive-aggressive sticky notes reminding me to buy oat milk or call her mother. I stood in the doorway, sipping black coffee, staring at the void she left behind. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel sad. Just still. There was a voicemail on the landline. She hadn't called my cell, not bold enough for that. But the home number, the one she thought I never checked, that was her Hail Mary. I pressed play. Hey, it's me. I need to say something. Not for fixing anything. I know that. But I just thought maybe you'd want to hear it. You always said I never really said what I meant. A pause. Deep breath. You were always good to me. Even when I didn't deserve it. Especially then. I think I hated that about you. The way you forgave so easily. The way you kept showing up like nothing could break you. Another pause. A soft sniffle. I don't expect you to forgive me now. I just want you to know, it wasn't about love. It was about me. Needing to feel powerful again. Special. And he made me feel that, at first. Her voice dropped lower. But he's not you. And I know that now. That's all. The line clicked. I didn't replay it. I deleted it. The thing about apologies is that once you've learned to live without them, they stop being currency. I wasn't about to let her spend regret like it was worth something. Later that afternoon, I walked into the bank and moved the rest of my funds into a new account. One with a password that wasn't her birthday or the name of our honeymoon hotel. The teller smiled politely. Big changes, huh? Just making sure my future has fewer fingerprints on it, I said. She nodded, like she understood. Maybe she did. I walked out into the sunlight feeling 10 pounds lighter. Not because of the money, but because I was no longer dragging around the weight of pretending things could be repaired. Vincent called around dinner time. She reach out yet? Voicemail, I said. Nothing new. You okay? Define, okay, I said, flipping a steak on the grill. Vincent chuckled. You sound good. I feel like I'm breathing air I forgot existed. He went quiet for a second, then said, so what's next? That was the million-dollar question. What was next? I had the house, my career, my health, my name, intact. But I'd also spent years building my days around someone who couldn't even stay faithful through a lease renewal. I needed something new, not a rebound, not a vacation fling or some impulsive tattoo. I needed a reclamation. So I started small. That weekend, I tore down the old office we converted into a yoga studio, painted the walls dark blue, set up my grandfather's desk, hung my degree on the wall. For the first time in years, it looked like my space. Not ours. Just mine. I began journaling again. Every night. One page. Not for art. Not for catharsis. Just so I could remember who I was without her. It surprised me how much I liked the man on the page. He was quiet, yes, but steady. Wounded, but intact. And most of all, he wasn't waiting for anyone to come fix him. By midweek, I donated her leftover clothes to a women's shelter. Dropped them off with no note, no return address. Let someone else find warmth in what she abandoned. Somewhere between unloading that last box and folding a load of laundry, I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I realized something. She was never going to be the villain in her story. She'd write herself as misunderstood, a woman who followed her heart, who needed more, who didn't feel seen. And that was fine. Let her have her version. Because I didn't need revenge anymore. I already won. I just wanted to build a life where I never had to explain why I stayed so long with someone who kept disappearing piece by piece. So, I didn't wait for closure. Didn't craft some poetic final text. I simply let the silence stretch out like a new bed sheet, clean, crisp, and untouched. Because sometimes the loudest goodbye is the one where you don't say a thing at all. A month passed. No calls. No messages. Just the occasional envelope from her lawyer, dry and clinical, trying to negotiate slices from a pie she no longer baked. I let Raymond handle it all. Don't respond emotionally, he warned. Respond legally. Best advice I ever got. The house was listed quietly. No for sale sign out front. Just a discreet online posting with professional photos and a bland caption. Classic charm, modern upgrades, single owner property. Single owner. Yeah, that part stung more than I expected. But the truth is, I was ready to leave. The house was full of ghosts, smiling wedding photos, birthday candles, echoes of arguments that never really ended. So I packed it up, kept only what I needed. What mattered? My father's tools. My mother's piano. The painting we bought in Italy, not because of the memory, but because it reminded me that even back then, I had good taste. The rest? Gone. The new place was modest. Clean lines. Quiet street. No history. That was the point. I didn't throw a housewarming party. Didn't blast music or invite friends over to pretend everything was fine. Instead, I unpacked in silence. One box at a time. Set up the kitchen. Hung a single frame. My dog-eared copy of The Old Man and the Sea, shadowboxed like a war medal. Fitting, I thought. A story about a man battling something he could never truly conquer, but doing it anyway. Not for glory. Just because. That was me now. I joined a gym. One of those quiet, no TV places. Just weights, breath, and sweat. Each rep, a small apology to the body I'd neglected. Each mile, a little penance for the man I used to be. And little by little, I stopped seeing her in every shadow. The music I played was mine again. Blues, mostly. Raw, honest, no filters. I took long drives on weekends. No destination. Just the road, the engine, and the knowledge that I wasn't being waited on, or watched, or lied to. Freedom didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like exhaling. It was a Tuesday again when I met Claire. Not in some cheesy rom-com moment. No spilled coffee or shared taxi. Just a bookstore. She was standing in the nonfiction section, holding a book on Viking navigation. Eyebrows furrowed like the map inside was a personal insult. That one's a little dry, I said. Feels like getting yelled at in Old Norse. She laughed. That surprised me more than her beauty. I like to suffer through the hard stuff first, she said. Respect, I replied. We talked. For 15 minutes. Then 30. We sat by the little coffee corner in the back. Talked about books, travel, regret. She asked if I'd ever been married. I didn't lie. Once, I said. She left. I let her. Claire didn't flinch. Sounds like a clean break, she said. Eventually, I replied. We exchanged numbers. No expectations. Just interest. That night, I didn't pace. Didn't overthink it. I just texted, still curious about Viking maps? She replied, only if you're my navigator. And just like that, the spark returned, not like fireworks. More like a match in the dark. Enough to see the next few steps. She showed up 6 months later, unannounced. At my doorstep. A different car this time, black SUV. Suburban, polished, impersonal. I opened the door. She looked thinner. Older. Not in years, but in the way truth erodes people. Can we talk? She asked. I stood there. Not angry. Just uninterested. You got 5 minutes, I said. I wanted to say. I miss what we had, she said. We don't have anything, I replied. But we did. I nodded. And you spin it. She blinked, caught off guard. I wasn't happy, she said softly. I wasn't either. I just didn't cheat about it. Silence. She looked down. I thought maybe. I don't know. That we could have coffee. Talk. Just once. I leaned against the doorframe. You know what the worst part was? I said. It wasn't the affair. Or the lies. It was that you made me feel like being loyal was a weakness. She swallowed hard. I don't hate you, I said. But I'm not giving you a second chance to break me. You had the whole map, and you chose the iceberg. She left without another word. And that was the last time I saw her. A year passed. Claire and I didn't rush. We weren't building castles in the sky, we were setting bricks. One dinner, one weekend hike, one "I trust you" at a time. She never asked for details. I gave her only what mattered. One night, we were sitting on the porch. Quiet. Content. She looked over and said, "You ever think about revenge?" I smiled. Thought about it. And I realized I didn't need to break her. Why not? Because I already outlived her lies. Claire nodded. That's cold. No, I said. That's peace. And I meant it. Because being a gentleman isn't about wearing suits or holding doors. It's about knowing when to stay, when to leave, and most of all, when to forgive yourself. And that, my friend, is how I walked away from betrayal with my spine straight, my name clean, and my heart, finally, my own.